into the test on Tuesday and Wednesday, I specifically wanted to give you some more information on the Mcas essays. So we know that there will be more than one, right? We know that they have to be, try your best to make it be 3 body paragraphs and a 1 sentence thesis as your introduction, and like a 1 sentence repeat your thesis as a conclusion. So the main focus is really on your thesis statement. You get the thesis statement from the actual prompt, and then the 3 body paragraphs with quotes. Now, it's quite possible that you may get a different kind of essay. So we've seen in the past 3 different types of essays, the one that I've taught you, and then this one, which is a little bit different, and I want to tell you how to get the points to pass on this one. So this one is writing a narrative response. So that's definitely something we don't hear every day. You're basically going to take on the persona of someone they tell you to be. And a narrative is like jumping into someone else's shoes and writing from their perspective as if you were that person, which means that you would use the pronoun I, but you wouldn't be talking about yourself or writing about yourself. You'd be writing about that person that they tell you to be, or that character that they tell you to be. So you still have to use details from the text. They say character, setting, events, and of course, correct spelling and punctuation. Oh, big deal. Please use your punctuation. Periods, commas, capital letters, all of those definitely count. All right, so this one says, take a look at this passage, whatever that is, because we didn't actually do this particular practice, and take a look at this passage. And then write a reflection on this person or character from the perspective of one of her adult children. Okay, it's like what? Like I don't even know what I just read. So basically you're taking 2 stories, you're writing a reflection, so you're thinking back, but it's not just that, of course not. You're writing it on this particular person. So you're not as Florence Thompson, you're writing it on that person, but from the perspective of one of her adult children. Like that's so specific and strange, but whatever they tell you to do, you have to do it. So I would have to go back to the passage and I would have to know who Florence Thompson is, but then because it's Mcas, they're digging into that deeper thinking level and they're saying, but write it from the perspective of her adult child, like pick one of her children. So that means that if they don't talk about one of her children, I would have to assume what one of her children would think of her, right? And so if they do talk about one of her children, then that gives me a little bit more to work with. And it's awkward and strange, and you're like, I don't even know what they're asking. But I'm telling you to break it down and then figure out, okay, who am I? Who are they asking me to be? Who are they asking me to write on or about, right? And what would my perspective be if I was that person that they're asking me to be? So that in this weird one, I would be one of her adult children. And instead of saying Florence Thompson, I would say mom, because they're asking me to pretend that I am her child, adult child. So this might sound like maybe you've stopped this video by now, or maybe you have it on like double speed. But it is important that you feel comfortable with this strange one where you would, you have no idea. You might say to yourself, well, I don't even know what her child might think. You have to be creative and imaginary and just jump into it and try your best. So this one specifically, this is a little bit more free form. So maybe not a full 5-paragraph essay. Maybe it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs. Obviously, you'd want to not include quotes because, that's the other thing. When you're writing a narrative in first person as someone else that they tell you to be, you're not going to include a quote because you wouldn't be quoting because you're that person. Does that make sense? This is a very confusing question, but we want to make sure that we're on top of it. So this is somebody's sample. It was a high scoring essay in the narrative essay. And you notice that they are definitely writing about their mom. Obviously, it's, they are pretending. So using me, my, I, calling her mother. They're not including quotations because, they're writing from their perspective kind of within this story. Like the phrase "I remember" is great, and "I felt," and what did you do, and what was it like, and where did you go? So it's more factual and retelling the story from the perspective of that person. Before we jump into the second type of essay that is a little strange beyond the one that I taught you, I want to go over a different type of question that we didn't deal with directly. It says claims are made in both articles. So it's a double article, double story. Identify whether each of the following claims is supported by information from Article A or Article B or both. Select one option for each claim. So get used to it. So let's see, what are they asking? Here's the claim. And then we would have to determine, all right, was this claim from this one, or was it both? And I can guarantee you that you will not find this exact statement in any article. So you're going to have to think central idea, main idea, topic sentences, like first part of your paragraphs, last chunk of the article, first chunk of the article, right? So you're zoning in on where people are going to make their big claims. It usually is at the bottom of like the first paragraph and the beginnings of all the other paragraphs and at the very end. And that's that. So that's one that you might get. So I want to talk about another essay real quick that you might get, and that is this right here. It is based on these two articles. Write an editorial for your local newspaper in which you argue why it is important for teachers at your school to be trained in mindfulness. Again, so many details. I'm going to have to sit with this and really think through what are they asking me to do, and just take that time, because right when we read a prompt, we're not going to know exactly what to do. We have to digest it and break it down and take it in pieces. So I know I'm writing for two articles. I'm going to skip, let's say you had no idea what editorial was, and just skip it and just say, write something for your local newspaper in which you argue. So it's your opinion. So that's what an editorial is. It's your opinion on something. So they are not, and this is what's confusing, they are not giving you the opportunity to say that you do not think it is important for teachers to be trained. They're just saying in which you argue why it is important for teachers at your school to be trained. So tricky word there, argue. It is signaling that you should be writing in the first person with I, me, my pronouns. You are you this time, and you are pushing out your opinion. You're making the claim it is important for teachers to be trained in mindfulness because blah, blah, blah. Why? And then here are my two reasons. And one reason is this, one reason is that, from the articles, from both articles. And that's really important. It's just not your opinion in general. So if you have no opinion on this topic, which, you might not, you'd have to base it on what they tell you to do. So they do say why it is important. And then you just have to find evidence from the articles, both of them, to back that up. Okay, so I want to show you a passing score on this one. And so it looks different than a traditional 5-paragraph essay. It looks like paragraphs here. It is super important to actually make your paragraphs look like paragraphs. That's one of the things that they do visually look for. So by hitting the return bar and tabbing it over, and yes, so this would be a passing score. I just wanted to show you. You do see quotes. You do see the paragraph right here, the citation, paragraph whatever, by this author. And you're coming up with a claim. This is more of the competitive passing, like this is a level up. So the paragraphs are a little longer and there's a definite thesis at the beginning. So this is just more written. And then these are zeros. And you might think, why would anyone ever do that? Because in a testing situation where you're tired and stressed and you just want to go, people do this, and the box that you're going to be writing in is tiny. So I think some people think like, oh, they just want a tiny answer. And you guys are trained in essay writing. You understand that you can't do that. These are also not scoreable. Their score point of 1 isn't going to earn you a passing grade. This would not either. So you see how you just have to stretch your writing, and that's super important. I just want to real quick go back to the other essay we were working with to see what a non-scoring essay would be, like a 0 and a 1. So this is a 0. This is the one about pretend that you're one of her children, this woman. This is a 0 because it's not, they're not taking on the role, like pretending that they're one of her children. This is also a 0 because they did take on the role of her child, but there wasn't really the detail in it. There wasn't the specifics in it. As well did this one. And so this is not scoring. So you really want to stretch it out, right? And so we get into a scoreable one right here. Okay. So I think that's it. Bring your Chromebook, bring a charger, come by 8 for hot breakfast on the 3rd floor. I think we're good to go. You guys are awesome. Thank you.